Since you can clearly see this, otherwise you're fucking stupid. Dumbasses. Can't you see that I'm clearly Oh. Let's see. Come on, clicker boy. Ah, that's better, right? Now we can see it. Aren't those cool? So those are my lean spectacles. And I just blamed you for not seeing them clearly. Isn't that strange? What would drive a man to do that? Or perhaps that might be what we're doing. That's how you reach me. You have the Twitters, you have the emails, you have my name. The really long one, Torbjorn, that's only IRS and my boss that says that, or mom when I'm doing something dumb. Everyone else says Tobbe or Toby if you're slightly American. I'm here to talk about the problem of seeing things and how we often fail with change. So as was mentioned, I consider myself an organizational debugger. And in order for you to see a problem or be aware of a problem, you first need to see it, you need to diagnose it. And as change agents, our job is to help other people see. See? That's the thing we do. I have a friend, Stephen Perry, that he said this at a time. There's a world of difference between helping people see and telling them they're blind. But isn't that exactly what we tend to do? We have a marvelous idea. We've found truth. We've seen it. We were at a great conference. We heard inspiring speeches. And we saw something new. And we go home. We go home to our departments and we sort of go, you know what, guys? We're doing everything differently tomorrow. And they're not exactly enthusiastic, are they? And what do we do? What do we do when people don't want to change? We blame them. They're resistant to change, the buggers. They don't want to change. They don't understand our brilliant idea. I like to talk about the topic of mindset for a bit, because this is sort of at the heart of what we're actually trying to do. We're trying to change mindsets. And in order to sort of understand what I'm talking about, we should probably sort of cover, what do I consider your mindset? Your mindset is essentially the fundamental beliefs and values that you carry around. They act as a filter for everything you do, how you judge stuff, how you decide what to do, how you behave. So essentially, your mindset is your point of view. We could also say that your mindset is the lens through which you view the world. And in order for us to understand contemporary organizations and understand the change we want to institute, it's good to label these mindsets and learn how to see them. And there's a few ones that I sort of consider fundamental to my own understanding of this, and I've stolen this from a guy called Bob Marshall. He's Flowchain Sensei on Twitter, the most horrible Twitter nick ever, but he puts out a lot of good stuff. He has this model called the Marshall model of right shifting, or right shifting model. And he talks about how companies, how groups, how organizations go through a few set stages. We all start out in an ad hoc state as cowboys. We sling code, we take no prisoners, and we ride into the sunset. Oh man, are we cool. I should have brought my hat. I have a really nice hat for that. And that goes on for a while until they grow up. So if you've ever been in a startup, anyone been in a startup? It's a totally exciting place to be, isn't it? And we view the world in a very specific way. And then we grow up. Who's in a grown-up company? Anyone that sort of talks about full-time equivalences? Yeah, that sort of company. You know, the sort of company where you go in and everything feels slightly analytical. Or, dare I say, mechanistic. It's like some corporate overlord took our prairie and created a machine. And you're a cog in it. If you're a developer, you're probably a plug-compatible coding unit. So if it's not going quick enough, we order a few more boxes of developers, we add them in a spreadsheet, and we can see productivity go up. The analytical organization talks about itself in mechanical terms. It sees the world through that lens. It's often not the funniest of places to be. So what happens then? Why are we here? Well, we've adopted a different set of words, haven't we? When we talk about change, and when we talk about agile, we start talking about our company like a garden. We're gardeners. We need things to grow. We're very synergistic about it. We start paying attention to the interactions of the components, not the components themselves. That's, in essence, the three major mindsets that I'll be talking about today. And this is also where you run into that problem, because we can only see the problems our beliefs allows us to. If you truly believe that your organization is a machine, you won't see the problems you're causing to the seeds you're sowing. You won't see how you're messing up by not nurturing that plantation. And everyone talking about it will seem really alien. And this is a huge problem for us. As change agents, we speak a language that many of those that would need to hear it can't hear because we're using the wrong words. So let's take another example. Agile. Isn't that the best thing ever? It's like, it's unicorns and hugs and Legos, funny games. And to a lot of people, it's also sort of just viewing the world through a set of rose-colored glasses. But Agile has a point of view, hasn't it? The manifesto starts by saying, we're uncovering better ways. To me, it sort of sounds like they went out into the desert or sort of up some mountain and started digging. And sort of, hey, here's some new ways of doing stuff. Let's try that. And that might be what happened. But I think what they actually did was that they sat down and fundamentally figured out that, hey, we don't see stuff like the other guys do. This is what's different. So what's different then? Well, this. Individuals and interactions. Over what? Processes and tools. See? We've already changed what we want to see. And I think this is fundamental to understand why the manifesto seems so odd to some. Because we sort of say, yeah, it's value in them processes and tools, but I choose to focus elsewhere. I choose to set my sight on something else. In order for those things are good. They're supporting. The machine needs feeding, and they can help us. But it's only important up to the point that it supports the individuals interacting, and that's where I'll spend my time. As an engineer, I call myself a software developer, even though people keep pulling me into management roles. I want to write software. I got into software mainly because computers are easy. I didn't know that at the time, but I knew that they were very, very predictable. Anyone else done that mistake? Yeah, they're very easy to talk to. They're not very sort of smart about it, but at least you can sort of, you give it an input, out comes something else. And then I sort of started having problems. Smart people talking to computers often end up having problems. The problem isn't that the computer is dumb. The problem is that we create magic, don't we? Who creates magic? Cool. We're building worlds, people! It's awesome! And what I realized at the time, I was working in this company, we're building trucks, and I was doing diagnostic software for the engine control units. It wasn't Volkswagen. I promise. I'm not associated with those guys. So what I was doing was, well, I'm making magic. But it takes like 18 months for my project to get killed. Sort of, I did magic, 18 months, they killed it. And then you start over again. That's not very funny. So I figured out, hey, you know what? I can debug an engine control unit. It's strapped to a car for 1 million kilometers. Of course I can debug an organization. And then people start telling me crap like this. Well, okay, interact, people. You're not predictable. I don't like that about you. People also start talking about how the best things aren't sort of designed in. They sort of emerge from these wonky interactions. So all of a sudden, not only can I not design the change I want, I can sort of only nudge it and hope that it sort of grows into the thing I want. That's not how I used to craft software. But what I realized was also, since we're very fond of rediscovery, that a guy called John Gall, he's already figured this out in order for all systems. Essentially what he said was, any big, working, complex system is the result of a small, working system. So always start small and then build up, which is essentially the same thing. Tend to your garden. But this is the agile point of view. Who got into computers because they liked people? It's one guy in the back. Yeah, sure. Sure, buddy, sure. This is also kind of an alien concept, right? Because if we're working together to deliver something, or to meet some mutual need, to sort of actually solve a problem, that's one interesting way. But isn't that just a lot of kumbaya and avoiding commitment? Who's responsible if I'm not assigning tasks to you bastards? Who do I know? If you don't estimate, how am I supposed to hold you personally responsible for it? It's a point of view, right? If we think that, no, the thing is, the more effective way is actually if we just sort of, you have a problem, cool, let's work on it, get it into production, make sure that you're actually happy with it, and then we go on to the next thing. That's a completely different way. So that's pretty much agile, right? It changes how we see our organization. And some people might not see it that way yet. But it wasn't an agile talk. This was a talk about lean, wasn't it? Lean is very serious. You can see that on the frames. That's serious frames. Lean is serious stuff. The problem with lean is that it's actually spelled like this. But the R is silent. That took me a while to figure out. But because I started reading all the literature about lean and sort of, well, there's tons of stuff in it. And then sort of all of a sudden you go, oh, but what is it? It's about learning to see. You can find these brilliant stories about management at Toyota, where Teiichi Ono wants to teach management to someone. What he does is essentially draws a circle on the floor, in the plant floor, puts the new manager there and so go, watch. Comes back 8 hours later and so, hey buddy, what did you see? What he was hoping was that people should observe their systems and learn to see what's impeding the flow of work. And this is essentially everything we do in Lean, is creating ways to see the system. We talk a lot about visualization, about experiments, about all of these things that are all essentially just ways for you to focus on things and get a sense of the world, to see it differently. Waste reduction. Lean isn't about getting slimmer necessarily. There's a lot of focus on waste. And waste is one of those fundamental lean concepts that you need to understand. But it's we overly focus on it because it's very easy to sort of comprehend. Yes, I see the machine is running wastefully. That's your analytical mindset, your analytical lenses, essentially saying, buddy, this is a machine. This is how we view it. Optimize it. Waste reduction is important, but it's not the most important thing. You'll get waste reduction if you just keep on listening. So, cycle time. Anyone has a good definition of cycle time to offer up? Yeah, you start the clock and you stop the clock. Sure, Bob. Cycle time is essentially, as we most often use it, is the time you spend doing something, one step of the process, sort of time in one column. This is one of those things that we very often like to measure. How long did it take you to code that thing? How long did it take for you to test it? That deployment, how long did it take? Small pieces. And then we go in, we'll look at the world through our cycle time lens. We have this new fantastic tool. And we have retrospectives, because everyone's having retrospectives, right? Oh, almost all of you. Start that. And we come up with brilliant ways to be better at that thing we do. So if we take a team of developers and we have a retrospective and they sort of go, okay, so how do we make the boat go faster? Essentially what they will come up with is ways to make the coding go faster, right? They're like, yeah, we can code faster if you guys give us better specifications. Has anyone tried that? How did that work out for you? It didn't? You must be doing it wrong then. You suck. Well, that's usually what happens. And people are feeling that they're working very, very, very hard. And they're improving, sometimes massively. And nothing much change. The reason nothing much change is because lead time. Lead time is the interesting concept of it's not only your work that's actually important, it's actually all of the work. From the idea, from the concept to cache, from light bulb to live. Wasn't that marvelous? That's the thing. From a commitment point to, hey, it's in production. The lead time is all of that. And that's easy enough. Most people just go, oh, so this is it, right? Marvelous. I can do this. I can do lean. Sorry. So, do you know about the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime? Anyone? It's from a Sherlock Holmes novel called Silver Blaze. The curious incident of the dog in the nighttime turns out to be that the dog didn't bark. In a murder story, that's actually kind of pivotal because it says that the dog knew whoever actually went through that garden. What's the dog in the nighttime here? Actually, it is this. So we can see that our lead time is the sum of the cycle times plus the sum of all the time we spend in a queue. What happens to the queue if you code faster? Nothing much, really. That's the thing. And the really interesting thing is that since you're probably spending more time in a queue than doing work, the majority of your time is actually queue time. A better way to say this is usually this. Your lead time is the sum of the time you're working plus the sum of the time you're not working. And the thing is, you do a whole lot of not working. And I know you're saying, well, I'm busy all the time. I'm so busy. Anyone had this argument with someone? More than once? Every week? Essentially that, right? So what I learned is this. As a manager, I shouldn't be focusing on the work. I should be focusing on all the not working that's going on. Yes, thank you, David. I like to say it like this. It's not the working, it's all the not working. And then still, as we have that argument, one common response to that is, if you go in and sort of you say this to your manager come Monday, he's gonna go this. See, the not working, we're busy all the time. What's all this about? Well, it's about a concept called ergopathy. I completely made that up. Ergonomics is the study of natural work. How we as humans should not be killing ourselves while doing the work we're doing. Sympathy is seeing or being in others, as they say. Ergopathy is essentially being sympathetic about the work. And that's the thing that I want you to understand, that the lean, my lean, the lean that can probably give you a lot of value, is actually about finding compassion for the work items, changing your point of view. Because if you want those lean statements to make sense, what we need to do is to learn to see. We need to take a different perspective. We need to be the work. I know some guys have probably seen, or girls, mayhaps, sitting out there sort of having flashbacks to old kung fu flicks, sort of, become the target, become the target. And yes, you should become the target. Imagine yourself being the thing being worked on. This is a very common trick to sort of start understanding your system and building a value stream. Is essentially, imagine that you could staple yourself to a work request and then sort of pass yourself around the office. You'd probably starve because you need to wait 9 weeks before you go to production. And it would probably be hurtful to sort of try to climb in and be a Jira ticket. And you'd probably sort of die in some database somewhere. But it sort of holds. The mechanistic view, the mindset of most organizations, right, is that we'll look at the workers. I look at you people. And then I know that you're supposed to transform something into something different. You're supposed to take my bug ticket and create software that doesn't suck. But if you look at the lead time, that also gives us a hint of that something is amiss here, because as the consumer of your service, I see that complete time, right? That's how the system behaves to me. And you're being busy doing stuff, being very efficient in your cycle time all the time, doesn't actually help that. To understand that, yes, this is the view you need to take. Instead of looking from the outside at the workers doing the work. Situate yourself as the work, looking to the workers and looking to the organization. Does your organization support that work item in getting through as quickly as possible? Probably not. Because the data we have says that roughly 95% of the time it's spending in a queue. And unless you're having some sort of part in those queues, that's probably not an interesting place to be. So that's actually what I want to leave you with. Learn to see from the perspective of the work. And if you want to discuss this further, I'll be here during the whole conference. I'll also be at the conference party. There's a little niggle. I'm kind of shy. So if you want to locate me, I'll probably be standing in some corner somewhere. But I have funny hairdo. You know my name. And you can always say, "Hey, dude, funny pictures." I answer to that too. Thank you very much.